on. So quick questions then from the two gentlemen. Yes, sir.
I am Abhinav Gupta from Srimati Sulochana Devi Singhania School. My question is to Don Bosco. One of my friends actually mentioned the point about Admiral Golshkov. Admiral Golshkov, well, I have a statistics for that. It was supposed to hit the Indian shores by 2008, but actually Russia increased the prices, so it is about to hit now by 2013, and that also is speculative. So what do you say about India and Russia military deals on that? And moreover, you said about SAARC. Do you actually think that India's future depends on SAARC countries like Pakistan, Sri Lanka and Maldives?
Okay, thank you. And the gentleman there.
I'm Ritvik Bhattacharya from St. Xavier's Collegiate School. My question is for Don Bosco Lilua. To me, both of you appear to be pretty confused because
Ignore him, don't worry about it. Yeah.
Firstly, you are talking about SAARC history when we are supposed to be talking about India's future. And then Shayon goes off saying that some $2 trillion of the US which were used to build parks and buildings, how has that got anything to do with India's future? Thank you.
Okay, I'm glad to see that the Calcutta East India heat is still carrying on in different forms. Saviour's won that one, and I think it's a kind of... Anyway, right. So, who wants to start from Don Bosco? Shubhanshu.
Well, how feasible is it to align with all the nations? Well, I never said that we have to...
Sorry. Shush to you, slow down to you. Can everyone now... this is the last bit, right? It's their final chance to impress the judges. It's very important that you don't start chattering.
Well, basically, I didn't say that we had to align with all the 47 nations, but basically the ones with whom we have future prospects of development, such as China and Russia, and also these Asian countries of the SCO. Again, India and China share history. How does it help? I told again and again that social and cultural integrity play a major role in human development. And human development has to means human development is an essential development without which no form of development can ensue without a further breakdown of the total system of society. Coming up to energy solutions of USA. I think you're referring to the US nuclear deals. Okay. Well, USA has put the clampdown on India and China especially for the CO2 emissions, whereas it itself is in fact the largest emitter of CO2. Well, let me tell you, USA has developed itself. It's a developed nation now, whereas India and China are not. And so basically they will need to pursue their, even in uranium farming, there's a lot of CO2 released. So if a nuclear deal is, nuclear power is not exactly CO2 free. So basically USA is very intentionally and potentially hindering the energy sources of India than solving it. And well, that's all.
Okay.
I can't solve this.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Yeah.
And I'd first like to answer your question. See, today we don't have a time machine that we go into the future and decide what will happen in the future. What we can do is to predict the future by analyzing the present and to delve into our past so as to find what is the general trend. So in order to know how our future would be with the US and with the Asia, we ought to deal with the present and also take a leaf from the past. And the second thing that you mistook me. I said that the $3 trillion were used for the US bailout. But the $3 trillion were used for the US bailout. But the 500 billion that I was told of was not a part of that $3 trillion. It was a different money that was used by Theodore Roosevelt back in the 1980s. 500 billion is very less compared to 3 trillion. But even that small amount was there to make such public welfare. So why to waste our money on bailing out organizations which are suffering from the same by their own mistake just to hide the US's own basic economic problems?
Okay, thanks. So you concentrate on thinking of your last 1 minute statement, and over to you to answer a few questions. And then,
Right, I'd like to tackle the first question, which was India's future, and talking about the recession. Will US be able to fund with the current recession going on? Like I said before, recession is only here to stay for a couple of years. We're talking about India's future as the topic states. So in the near future, the recession is eventually going to just melt down, and again, economies are going to thrive. At that time, as I said, US contributes to quarter of the world's GDP. I mean, I'm not speaking off my hat. So that's another point you need to take into consideration, that a quarter of the world's GDP comes from the US. And another point to think about, I mean, a wider issue that I wanted to bring about is that our neighbor, again, Pakistan, is running a huge scam of counterfeited currency, which is ruining the Indian economy. And Pakistan is again controlled by the US. So think about it. Do you want our economy to be ruined by counterfeited notes and opium trade, or you want to collaborate with a bigger power?
Okay, thank you. Okay, well, Shivan, do you want to come back on?
Well, with respect to the gentleman's question regarding even Russia and China, our neighboring countries, they have nuclear technology, they have the power, and why not we are collaborating with them? Well, again, this topic comes out to the same point, that they are our competitors. They are not at the moment in a level where they are way above us. They are still at the same level. They are at par with us or a bit more with us, but more than us. But that does not mean that we can take help. They are not in a position to provide help to any other country yet, because they are still developing nations. But United States, on the other hand, is a developed nation, and it has the potential to help the others. So that is why we are concentrating more on US and not on this one when you're talking about the nuclear deal or the nuclear fuel power, which you answered. And
Very quickly.
with respect to the question about Osama bin Laden and US not being able to capture it, once again we come back to the same point, that Osama bin Laden is hiding in Pakistan or a neighboring Pakistan, which is a neighboring country. So again, it's the neighboring country which is in problem, and that the dangers are more with the neighboring countries in jeopardy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, give them a big round of applause, can we? All right. You now formally have a minute each. I will knock on the glass halfway through at 30 seconds to give us your final thought. Your final thought of this final. Shh! And everyone else is going to be really respectful and silent. Okay. From Don Bosco, Cheyenne.
After we come to the end of this debate, I'm very sad to see that most of us took the very basic proposition wrong, which never say to stop all the economic relations with US, but rather to side with our Asian countries more than the US. Secondly, I would like to say that I'll ask you a question that if I am allied with someone and then I tend to overcome the person, it will be the general tendency of that person to get me down. The same shall happen if India tries to ally itself with US. Finally, it is really ironic to see that foreign students from the US coming to our own country, taking advice from our rail minister, Lalu Prasad Yadav, for how he changed the Indian railways. So if US themselves ask for our help, why should we fall under the footsteps of US? Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Okay. From Choksi Vignesh.
The fact that US still remains a superpower is something that we cannot deny. Repeating myself again. And the cause, one more point I'd like to bring up, a new one in my summary, just as a pointer, that the cause of the recession has been due to unhealthy investment in the real estate sector, which has led to the meltdown. Just imagine that one market has caused a global meltdown. It has put the entire world into a complete financial backdrop. So think about the might. And moreover, if you see the globe, Asian nations are on one side of the globe, while America as a whole is represented on the other side of a globe. So imagine the might of it. And US has a lot to bring to us. And I'd just like to end with a quote from one of the things, that most people respect the badge, but everyone respects the gun.
Thank you very much indeed. Okay. So, Shubhranshu.
Well, it has been very basically put forward that USA is, the recession is here for a very short time. I don't understand, because there's a great indication that this may be one of the, similar to the Great Depressions of the 70s. Secondly, also, that would also, USA itself is accepting that, basically, that its domination is on the decline. So basically, in that case, India could not look forward to it for long-term gains as a whole. And secondly, I would just like to put on a small statement made by my friends on the other side of the table. Very emphatically, they said that India's future lies with Asia and not with the USA. I would like to put that up to you for consideration, because you made that statement, and I quote you. Well, basically, that's all I have to say right now. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. And, okay, we're going to clap them all in a minute, so, Shivanan.
Oh, well, as my opponent just mentioned, I feel very sad that my opponents have failed to understand the opposition very correctly, because even we are not saying like completely ban the ties of India with the Asian nations. We're just saying that more ties with US should be increased so that it helps in our growth. And China and India happen to be